How's it going, good people? It's me, Sinnocence, coming back at you for another exciting episode of SinTax. Today's episode's going to be a little bit different. Mind you, I think all SinTax episodes are going to be pretty different, but I kind of wanted to take the time to talk to you guys about something a little more personal. A big reason I started SinTax was to open up and start discussion about some things that matter to me personally. Now, before I start, I do want to say that I'm no professional on this. I just wanted to share my own personal experience and some tips and tricks that have personally worked for me. And as you guys can guess based on the title, I'm kind of an anxious person. I kind of want to start first with talking about like what it really means when I talk about my anxiety. First of all, kind of how it feels, and then some experiences that have been brought about because of it, and then some things that have helped me kind of rein stuff in a little bit. Things that have managed to help me keep calm and work on progressing through stuff. So first, the feeling, for me personally, tends to be a tightness in my chest. It can be very hot, almost like a full body strain that emanates from my chest area. It's this tenseness that feels similar to an adrenaline spike, like when you're startled, but much more dull and constant. And if you yourself have anxiety, I'm sure you know what it feels like, but I think there are some people who just might be curious of the feeling or what exactly I'm referring to. Besides the physical reaction, it tends to cloud my judgment and my decision making when it's heightened. Sometimes it's brought about by certain social interactions or expected social interactions that might be coming up. This is more like an immediate response to some kind of stimulus. For example, I just kind of forget what the rest of my sentence is mid-sentence while speaking to somebody. I'll probably get a shock of adrenaline and this anxiety. And this is a little bit more relatable for, I guess, most people, because it's kind of based on an expectation that you set for yourself, and it's almost a fear of, oh no, what happens next? But there are other times where there are almost just some mornings that I wake up with this feeling inside, low energy and feeling already defeated, and this building tension of the anxiety that I described before without any external stimulus. So now I'm sure for everyone it's kind of different when you end up feeling this sense of anxiety. The earliest I can really think back is when I was 7 or 8 years old. I actually remember having a fair amount of nervous tics near the end of my elementary schooling and the early high school. I would flick the ends of my fingernails with my thumb to make sure every single fingernail got touched. Same with my teeth. I would kind of grind it in a way that all the bases of my teeth connected at least once. I would also roll my neck, making sure to make contact the entire way around. I also had a phase where I remember feeling most comfortable holding my arms up by my chest like this, kind of dangling down. This is a little bit of a strange kid, but they were all just kind of coping mechanisms. I got bullied a fair bit and I was pretty small, and at that early age in my life, I was also very extroverted. I would sing and dance, and I had a lot of energy to expend. Where my anxiety stems from, for me personally, I'm still exploring. Ever since I was a kid, I always had this sense of worry and stress that I never quite understood why it was there. Also, another thing that ended up being a great source of anxiety for me that I still don't quite understand are cell phones. And I think more so it's a manifestation of the pressure that I put on myself to perform socially. Because I used to find cell phones and online messaging easier than speaking in person because it gave me a chance to think out my responses and I was 100% in control. For some reason in recent years that's almost flipped completely, and I can speak much better to people face to face. And when it comes to messaging, I have a tendency to overthink everything. And beyond that, I really tend to internalize this idea that I could contact anyone that's in my life at any time that I wanted, but I'm not currently doing that. So I feel like there's an expectation to message people, even though if I think rationally, that expectation is only coming from myself. I have a tendency to get very anxious when it comes to meeting up with people, especially large groups of people. For some reason, I can't hear very well in most party-like situations. That can lead to misunderstandings, awkward moments, that again, when I'm thinking rationally, I know it'll be fine. I have some amazing friends in my life that are always understanding, and I give myself a lot less credit than I'm due. However, I still get stressed out and anxious about that kind of stuff all the time. Now, there are things that I do to absolve my anxiety, and there are things that I do do to sate my anxiety. And when I say absolve, I don't know if I'll ever truly be 100% gone of my anxiety, but there are things that I've been trying to do in order to reduce the general amount of it. I've always had pretty dramatic ups and downs with my confidence and my tendency to worry, and also my ability to set proper boundaries with people. And I think through introspection and also the counseling I've been receiving recently has done wonders to kind of improve my overall sense of anxiety. This might not be the case for some, as some people it's more of a chemical imbalance. And like I said, I'm no expert on this. I'm just sharing my experience. But if you're in any sort of position to receive counseling, it can be beneficial to distance yourself from your own muddied internal workings, and it can definitely help with introspection and metacognition and helping yourself get through certain things, figuring out which behaviors are healthy and which are not. And I think those things have helped me make great strides in absolving my overall anxiety. But there's some times where it's acted up quite a bit, and all I need to do is just sate it. I just need to get it dulled down a little bit in the moment. For myself, I'm fairly lucky that there are a few things that really work for me. Watching YouTube is a pretty big one. Familiar voices, familiar people. I like watching the Game Grumps a lot. I've been a huge fan for years and years, and listening to them joke around with each other tends to calm me down. But media can definitely be a thing. Whether that be music or YouTube or movies, something familiar that can help distract for a short period of time and hopefully end you up in a better mood. Regular exercise is another thing that I've definitely recently involved in my life. For a long time I felt like, I don't have the time for it, and albeit the layoff and all this quarantining type stuff has definitely given me a lot more free time. It's something that I definitely want to continue, not just for my overall health, which is, yes, that's a very good thing. But like I said earlier, when I wake up and I'm just immediately stressed out and feel defeated and really anxious, if I force myself out to do one of my runs, by the time I'm done, I'm exhausted, I've listened to music, I'm in a different headspace altogether, and it helps bring me a lot more energy to deal with the rest of the day. Again, it's not for everybody, just another thing that helps me out personally. And I wrote down in my notes breathing techniques. If there are techniques that you know that might help, I find that deep breathing and really focusing on it can really help calm myself down. And I know it's kind of like, yeah, but it's honestly not often something that you're aware and thinking of. And if you can practice that deep breathing during points of high anxiety, it might help. Another thing that raises my anxiety is feeling overwhelmed with the amount of things that I want to get done in the day, or even just being overwhelmed with how many things that I could be doing that I'm not. What has really helped me is writing lists. I'm looking at a list right now of all the stuff I wanted to talk about in the video. I've developed a list that it has my to-do list kind of on the top, and it's got stuff that I can kind of knock out one by one, stuff that I don't necessarily have to do every day, but it helps keep my thoughts steady. And then I also have a daily routine list that I keep underneath. This is just what works for me. I even use little thumbs up emojis beside everything when I get it done. Some of the things are a little more tough, like an exercise or record a video or edit something, and other things are a little more simple, like lunch or shower. And I did it that way so that even if I am doing small things along the way, it feels like I'm constantly making progress. And that for me helps me calm down. I also briefly wanted to mention the dangers of vices for people who have anxiety. I've never outright talked about it much on the channel, but I used to smoke. I smoked cigarettes for a few years on and off, and then I moved to vaping for a while. It's been 2 years without a cigarette now, and almost about a year without vaping. For me personally, smoking cigarettes ended up creating this new anxiety that if I needed a cigarette, you start to feel a little on edge, you start to feel a little tense, maybe even frustrated or angry, and in some ways it felt similar to the anxiety that I would feel. However, I would smoke one cigarette and all of it would wash away. It was almost creating a new controllable form of anxiety that made me feel more in control of everything as a whole. And I feel like there are many other vices that could be abused in the same way. So if you also suffer from some form of anxiety, I hope some of these things might help, or even if they don't, I hope it's just comforting to know there's someone else there experiencing something similar. And if you feel comfortable too, please leave your story down in the comments down below. I'm definitely curious how people are going to react to this one, and I really want to start a dialogue going. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you guys. If you're new to the channel, I generally do comedy type stuff but I'm stoked to now have some kind of forum where I can just chat with you guys. If you're into comedy, let's plays, or art, please subscribe. We got 3 to 4 videos coming at you every week. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video at all, or it helped even just a bit, please leave a like. That'd be greatly appreciated. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. Bye. It's me, Markiplier. Bye.